Tonight, we investigate a museum full of haunted artifacts.
That is terrifying.
Evaluate evidence from an abandoned asylum.
We couldn't see anything at the time. We got home and we saw the shadow.
And we search for UFOs in Norway.
We still haven't got an answer to what this phenomenon is.
To sort fact from fiction, we've brought together an expert panel of psychologists.
I like to observe people's behaviour.
I'm very interested in how perception and memory work.
And some of the most experienced investigators from the paranormal world.
I would love to find out what it's like on the other side.
I am on the lookout for undeniable proof.
All hoping to see the paranormal captured on camera.
What the hell is going on there?
In the paranormal world, apparitions are believed to be residual energy that a person leaves behind when they have passed on. But sightings are often fleeting and very rare. So in Devon, in the UK, in 2018, when a mother was filming her young son riding his bike in the grounds of a 19th century mansion, she was shocked to discover she wasn't the only one watching over him.
We didn't see anything at first.
I don't know what that is. It looks like do you know what I thought it was Queen Victoria in a sash.
That is a really, really good capture. However, you would need to look at the background scenario. Where are they? What's supposed to be in that window? Is there something in that window that is there genuinely? A mannequin, a drape, make it look like someone is looking out the window?
It could all be completely rigged and somebody in Victorian costume up there, but it could be real.
In search of the truth, teams of investigators around the world equip themselves with the latest technology and head off into the unknown. In Colville, in the UK, in 2018, a team of investigators began to explore the old house, a location dating back to medieval times that is renowned for its dark past.
It's a fascinating building and it's a hotspot really for a lot of paranormal investigators. The most compelling story that's associated with this property is the story that the house owner murdered his wife and his children and his mistress. Those are the people that are supposed to be still here now in this property that haunt it. We decided to investigate the front room, the old parlour room. The other members of the team were using other bits of equipment, started to call out. So we came around the séance table. The energy that was coming through was really quite strong. So I asked one of the girls to get the FLIR camera.
FLIR stands for Forward-Looking Infrared and uses thermal imaging technology.
So I couldn't believe what I was actually looking at. There was a face in the camera looking back at us, and there was no face on the other side. The face was actually in the camera, and as we panned round, the face moved with the camera, and it was just looking back at us.
It's a face.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm shaking.
Let me see.
Jesus wept. It's not.
Is that the guy that's walking around there?
It's not defined out, but that's
it's not
the face.
moving though. It's not moving, guys.
I see a face. I'm sure that 90% of the public will see a face, and 10% will argue that it's, you know, a fingerprint on the lens. But that remains blue, which means it's cold. And behind it, you can see all the other variables in temperature. That remains blue.
That was a very cold, very obvious face. That was just amazing. I can't think of any way somebody could fake that.
It totally blew us all away, and it's been one of the best pieces of evidence that we've ever captured.
And Jane is not the only investigator to capture compelling evidence on camera at the old house. Premises officer Mark, who works in the property daily, also believes he captured the inexplicable in 2018.
Before we began the investigation, we decided to shoot a small intro tape on this floor of the attic. As I was walking in just through here, talking to the camera, the door just slammed unexpectedly. What's that? As soon as we heard it, I walked over to here and basically looked straight down the stairs, and the door had closed. So this was the door. The way in which we left the door was about maybe 4, maybe 5 inches, so it was about there. It takes quite a bit of force to actually make it shut on the hinge. You really have to actually push the door to close it.
As Mark continued to film the door, much to his surprise, it closed again.
There's just been no explanation whatsoever that I can think of that would have shut it. Wind from other doors downstairs, like for instance the back door, sometimes creates a draft that comes through here, but this does not move at all.
They make the effort to go and try and make it happen again, which is what any good investigator would do. You see how much force he has to put in to actually close the door.
Slamming doors sometimes could be anything. I'm a little skeptical, but I'm going a little more towards yes, something's going on there. I'd like to see them do some lopped off cameras on it maybe in a couple different angles.
I would say that's legit. I've seen stuff like that happen before. And then obviously when there's nobody there, you're in for a nasty shock.
Spirits are not only believed to form attachments to places, but also objects that have significant meaning for them. In Nottingham, in the UK, Steve and Marie have been collecting haunted objects for years. And after searching for a suitable location to display them, they found an abandoned picture house built on the grounds of a former asylum, which they also think is haunted.
We actually drove past the building, which was boarded up, trees hanging over it, and Marie turned around and says that that place looked amazing. It was actually going to be demolished. When we looked around it, it was pretty much within 2 weeks we was inside the building. Everything was right, it had history, and it was an old picture house, and there's not many left that's original.
It was when they were renovating the property that Marie experienced her first encounter.
I was near the stairs and I turned around and I thought a lady had wandered in off the street because there was a lady stood there in a white dress. I looked away, looked back, she had gone, and then I realised that the doors was actually locked and nobody could get in.
I've heard bangs, I've heard screams, I've had things bang me on the back, we've had tools disappear. This place just keeps giving and giving. It's like a paranormal portal. I would have stayed here at night? No.
As soon as they moved their haunted artifacts into the building, it became impossible to know how many spirits now reside inside its walls.
The building itself, spirit-wise, we will never know. If we put it down to all the items and the spirits that are with the items or attached to any of the items, we'd be going into hundreds.
I have first-hand experience of haunted items, so I am a big believer that certain items can act as conduits to spiritual energy. The fact that these guys have filled the location with these supposed haunted objects may have introduced something to the location that doesn't belong there, and that's when you're really delving into something that you shouldn't necessarily be messing around with.
Having both experienced activity in the old picture house, they decided to try and capture evidence on camera.
Pretty much every time we close, we put motion-sensored cameras around the building so we can actually capture anything that goes on around the night and for security purposes as well.
We came back the next day, Steve collected all the cameras up, we opened the museum to the public. About an hour or so later, Steve shouted us over. He'd been going through the footage. He says, just watch the hearse.
One of the haunted artifacts they have in the location is a hearse from the Victorian era.
We actually couldn't believe what we saw. The handle is far too heavy for it to be a breeze or anything like that. We can't think of any reason why that handle would actually lift if it wasn't paranormal.
That is very significant. I mean, the forces alone, to have poltergeist activity like that and to capture that, I would say I'm pretty impressed with that. And it would be very hard to debunk it. Of course, yeah, you can replicate it. Everyone knows you can get a piece of string, flip it up. I don't think these guys would do that.
If somebody was doing that, how would you stop it to keep it from hitting the glass? It goes up and then you can see it stop and then go back. It's just, that's amazing footage.
Look at the elements that are at play here. A hearse, which would have carried dead people. A handle that suddenly moves. Therefore, it means that there's a spirit attached to it in some way. We need to make sense of things that normally don't make sense to us at all. That is why we imbue it with something much more powerful.
I would say that it's definitely genuine poltergeist activity, caught on camera.
As this one piece of evidence from the old picture house is so compelling, we've sent paranormal investigator MJ Dixon along to investigate further, in the hope of capturing more proof.
This is our famous auditorium, and this is our Victorian hearse. This is where we caught the footage from one of our locked-off cameras. We actually seen the handle actually lift up at speed, go to about here, stop, which otherwise it would have gone straight through the glass if it didn't stop, because it does actually hit the glass, then come back down.
That's really heavy.
It's really heavy. So
that's an amazing capture, guys.
Yes. It's an amazing part of footage.
The museum is quite a large location. It's got a real mysterious, kind of ominous feel about it. And I'm hoping that whoever's here will come out and investigate with us.
But with so many spirits believed to be residing in the building, it's impossible to know who or what will make contact. Being in the right place at the right time is key to witnessing the paranormal. But these days, catching it on camera is even more important, as digital evidence is harder to dispute than something seen only by the naked eye. In 2008, at an undisclosed location in America, a team of paranormal investigators were called in to help a distressed family at the center of poltergeist activity. The evidence captured at their home led to the family moving out, never to return again.
The first thing that comes into my head, why? Why are we filming? What has caused you to film your swing at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Unless it's CCTV footage, you know, that they're just filming their porch anyway, and it is actually genuine CCTV footage. But if it's something that someone's filmed, I'm always suspicious of these kind of videos.
Your vision of what you're seeing is limited to this much. So you cannot see what's above, below, to the sides. You are being directed to look at a specific event.
So in my mind, watching this one, I just picture like another dude out of frame with just a pulley. It's like...
On the hunt for ghosts and proof of their existence, the paranormal community will stop at nothing in their pursuit of evidence. In situations where most people would run away in fear, investigators relish the opportunity to gain access to locations with the most terrifying histories. Newsham Park Hospital in Liverpool in the UK has a reputation for being one of the most haunted locations in England today.
Newsham Hospital started life as an orphanage in 1874. It closed in 1949 and reopened in 1954 as a mental asylum.
Newsham Park Hospital was renowned for its psychiatric department, but it closed for good in 1997 and has been empty ever since.
It was derelict and abandoned until somebody bought it, and then they found out that the place was haunted. Newsham Hospital is surrounded by so much dark history. Over the years, there's been abuse, torment, and torture that's taken place there. And this place is shrouded with this energy.
Incredible place. One of the most haunted places I've ever been to. The Naughty Boys corridor upstairs is a real hotspot for activity. It's incredible. There is a real dark entity.
You go into a building like this, which was known for being an asylum. It was an orphanage. It is now a crumbling building. It has all the props for telling a very seductive, compelling story about some otherworldly activity, some kind of negative energy.
Despite the stories of its dark past, Sean and his team were excited to be able to explore this location for themselves.
In July 2014, myself and an investigative team were given access to Newsham Asylum. And wow, when we went in there, the experiences that we had personally before we'd even set up any of the equipment, they were crazy. We were just doing a quick recce. When we saw this apparition, it was maybe 5 feet, 6 feet away from us. It started to appear as a hazy mist. We didn't know what it was. It was terrifying. It was just not what we expected to happen as we had entered the building.
Undeterred, the team started to set up their equipment.
In the corridor leading down to the kitchen, people have seen and reported shadow figures moving in and out of these rooms. So we thought it was best to set up a camera focusing straight down the corridor with a trigger object, a motion sensor. And the purpose of the trigger object that we set on the floor, it was a teddy bear because it was a children's orphanage, then took a photograph. We managed to capture a face at the end of the corridor.
There's nothing definitive about that picture. You can't make out what it is.
We've got to be careful in this incident that we don't perceive what we want to see. You think, wow, haunted location, you capture what looks like a face. It's a ghost, it's a ghost. It is a very pixelated image, so is it 100% evidence? No, it's not. Is it interesting? Yes, it is, considering what actually lurks inside that location.
For Sean and his team, though, the evidence is definitive proof.
I could not believe my eyes. When I saw it, it sent instantaneous chills down the back of my neck, because that is like the ultimate holy grail of evidence to capture a physical spirit person or the face of them. I was just so glad I didn't witness it with my own eyes, because if I had, I think I would have just ran out of there in terror.
When paranormal activity is captured on camera, in order to validate its authenticity, further investigation is required to prove the evidence is beyond doubt. At the Old Picture House in Nottingham in the UK, MJ is preparing to investigate the Victorian hearse. The footage captured already shows the heavy handle lifting by itself, and MJ is curious to find out who or what made that happen.
So we're going to open up the back and do some EVP.
Yes.
Perfect. God, you can actually smell how old it smells.
Yeah, you can smell the age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MJ is using a very sensitive digital recorder to try and capture electronic voice phenomena, and Steve is using an SLS camera, which is able to map in figures not seen by the naked eye, when the infrared beams it emits are interrupted.
The person that moved the handle up and down, if you could come and speak to us, there's a silver box on the top. Just talk really loudly into that for us. Were you carried? Were you in this hearse? What happened to you? We want to know your story, and we'd love to hear it from you. I wonder if we should play that back.
Yes.
Were you carried? Were you in this hearse? I was. Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps. I think we need to play it one more time because that was quite a clear answer.
Yep, I agree.
So that's amazing. Were you carried or pulled in this hearse? I was.
Yeah.
I could hear I was because she did say it, but I do hear two syllables or two words, and the pause between, I would say they're two words, but I can't tell for sure what they are.
Maybe it sounded different at the time, I don't know, but there's no tone to the voice, there's no words to it, it's just noises. Certainly it's answering her in a way, but it's just not voice coming through.
Well, I think possibly when you're surrounded by all these things, which some of them have what I imagine to be fantastic stories attached to them, if you're thinking about all these ghost stories, all these hauntings, all these things that could be paranormal in nature that are around you, then it's going to color things that happen which might be otherwise neutral in other circumstances.
It's been proven that objects have been haunted. I want to use the word possessed rather than haunted, because that's what you're dealing with. It's a possession of a possession. And in the back of my mind, though, there'll be a little thing saying, just be careful, because you really don't truly know what may be attached to it.
Suddenly, Steve notices something on his SLS camera, standing next to MJ.
Guys, there's actually a person in the picture in front of you.
The picture next to us?
Yes.
You can see someone mapping in there?
Yeah, there's somebody been mapping there for about 20 seconds. About your height?
Really? I have goosebumps from head to toe.
Could this be the spirit that moved the hearse handle? To be defined as paranormal, an event must challenge logical or rational reasoning and can encompass anything that is beyond scientific explanation. In Hesteland, in Norway, light anomalies have been detected in one valley since the 1980s. Despite becoming the subject of much research, scientists are still no closer to understanding what these phenomena are, leading to speculation that they might be extraterrestrial.
It's actually been investigated for over 30 years, and we still haven't got an answer to what this phenomena is. It's either some kind of energy field that is caused naturally by the Earth that we probably don't even know about, or it could be paranormal. It could be something to do with extraterrestrial life.
It's a very romantic idea that there could be something else out there. I think there's some issues with how does that relate specifically to the conclusions that you're drawing. Like, does a light in the sky equate to some sort of otherworldly intelligence directly? I would question the steps that it takes to get there. I think there's a number of things that need to happen before you can come to that conclusion definitively.
I do think that there might be life on other planets. There's other solar systems, and you know, who knows? We shouldn't be so arrogant to think we're the only ones out there. We're also arrogant to think they'd want to come in and study us too. I won't admit to ever believing in UFOs.
I was a member of the British UFO Research Association before. UFOs was my passion. Still is. It is the thing that drives me as well. The Hastellan lights, when I've looked at it and studied it, I've ruled out UFOs purely because they never land, no one ever comes out. It's just lights. So we don't know whether it's an effect of the Earth and its own electromagnetic field doing this, reacting to the gases that are escaping through tectonic plates rubbing together. I mean, there's a lot of unexplained phenomena that's related to that kind of stuff. We don't know everything that goes on this Earth.
Newsham Park Hospital in Liverpool, in the UK, is notorious for paranormal activity. Today, the building is unsafe for anyone to enter, but in the past, teams of investigators have been fortunate enough to gain access. New to the world of paranormal research, Emma from Preston was lucky enough to visit the infamous building on her very first investigation.
As you're driving up to Newsham Park Hospital, you can see it from a distance. It's a very old, Victorian, oppressive-looking building. You just get that sense of eeriness. It screams ghosts at you. When I first entered Newsham Park Hospital, we were led into the Great Hall, and I can just remember just being in awe of the actual building itself. You can wander off down a corridor and go into a room, and you end up in a hospital ward. And they've still got the hospital beds up and the curtains. You wander further on down and you're into the asylum bit, and they've still got the electronic shock machine in one of the rooms on the side. My first ever paranormal experience at Newsham Park Hospital was when we did a bit of table tapping, and we did that in the hospital ward. There was people around the table with their fingers on the table, keeping perfectly still, asking questions, and you can hear tapping on the table.
Yes.
Thank you, that was really
absolutely
good.
brilliant. Can you do it again? Can you do it loud?
Absolutely amazing.
Yes, that's excellent.
I'd look underneath the table and he'd ask another question, and I could hear the tap again, and I just couldn't explain where the tap was coming from.
Will you tap how old you are?
1,
2, 3, 4.
We're 4.
My face literally was right next to the tapping. There was nothing I could physically see with my eyes that was making the tapping, yet I could hear it as clear as day, and so could everybody else.
You can clearly hear tapping on the table. You can clearly hear the tapping come back in response. What I will say is that without any camera footage, then it's easily debunked, because it could be any number of guests sat around the table either doing it without being aware that they're doing it or clearly trying to fake it.
For Emma, witnessing the event in person, this exciting evidence made her eager to investigate the location further.
I'd gone there for a specific purpose, to find out if paranormal did exist, if ghosts existed. I wasn't going to step back from that. I was going to run towards that and go and see if I could find out if that was the case.
In Nottingham, in the UK, paranormal investigator MJ Dixon is investigating the old picture house. She's already captured what she believes to be electronic voice phenomena, and a figure was detected on the SLS camera by Steve. MJ now wants to introduce a new piece of kit into the proceedings.
The portal that we're using was built by Steve himself. And the reason I want to use this device here is because they've used it on numerous occasions, and with good results. It seems that whatever's here communicating with them is used to this device. It is sweeping radio frequencies constantly, but the portal minimizes all static, so you don't have that constant white noise. You just have purely the voices coming through.
MJ has separated herself from Marie and Steve. In the auditorium, they will call out to the spirits in the location, and MJ hopes they will answer through the portal. So that MJ has no knowledge of the questions they ask, communication is through walkie-talkies only.
Guys, when you're ready.
Can you tell MJ your name via the device?
Oh my gosh, I thought that just said MJ.
Can you touch MJ?
Give her a push.
I'm going to touch her, but be kind.
But not so kind. Big push will be good.
Despite the playful nature of their request, the investigation starts to take a sinister turn.
The feeling in here has gotten a bit more oppressive. Can't breathe. I was just gonna say, I feel like I can't breathe, like something's around my neck. That made me feel a bit uncomfortable. It felt like something touched the back of my head.
Can you tell MJ where you are from, please?
I'm right here.
I'm right here. I heard that.
Right, I'm gonna ask a few questions of my own up here.
Tell me how many spirits there are. 4.
But yeah, I definitely heard 4. I can't make out the other stuff that's coming through the portal, but can you tell me how many spirits there are? 4.
When she asked how many spirits, I heard 4. I'd be quite excited about that.
If you are primed and looking for proof of the supernatural, that kit and your belief will equal some kind of narrative, and you will then attach that narrative to the history of the place, to the history of the objects, to what those objects may have carried with them, you know, the energy of previous owners. And it becomes a very emotional investment, but the kit gives it some kind of objective reality. But actually attached to that is a lot of storytelling, and you're putting the two things together and saying, this is factually correct.
After the physical encounter she experienced in this experiment,
I feel like I can't breathe, like something's around my neck.
MJ now believes the spirits in this location may not be friendly.
During the evening, I felt as though I was being negatively affected by whatever's here.
A paranormal experience is often subjective, and although it can be felt, seen, or heard, capturing proof on camera eliminates the possibility of doubt. In 2018, in a suburban house in the south of Wales in the UK, this footage was captured one evening. The two friends are baffled by the activity they are witnessing. Could this be paranormal? Or is there a rational explanation?
I can't watch now.
Is it?
The curtain.
I think the cat's more confused than us.
When cats stare at things, you gotta kind of wonder. I think it looks like there's a radiator right there, but radiators don't blow out heat, and it's obvious that the window isn't open. But they're kind of calm about it for it being their house, and I wouldn't be.
That felt a little bit strange. It seemed to look like it was attached to something because it was still sort of suspended as it was falling.
If you're faking something, you're likely to do the, oh my God, it's so bad, oh, I'm so frightened, and they aren't.
It just seems a little bit weird. Why have they got the camera? Why are they filming? There's probably a little bit of wine going around. It's a Friday night, let's make a scary video.
There is no excitement. Now, if that was me, I would be up, jumping around, trying to find out what's going off, holding the lampshade still, probably swinging off it. And there's nothing.
Did you see that?
Of course I did, I'm filming it.
When presented with paranormal evidence, you can choose to believe, or you can remain skeptical and dismiss it. But having a personal experience, even for hardline skeptics, might change their perception of the supernatural forever. In Newsham Park Hospital, during her first ever paranormal investigation, Emma witnessed table tapping, but she was about to encounter something more chilling.
We were walking towards the asylum, taking quite a lot of pictures in the dark. We couldn't see anything at the time, and it wasn't until we got home and we saw the shadow.
Looking at this, it's a very dark anomaly. If I see this, I'd think, oh my God, I've got this shadow entity here. But the light on the wall, I thought to myself, hold on, is that the back of someone and they're shining the torch on the wall in front of them, ready to make their way towards the door, which is open? I'm not saying that is the case, I'm just saying it's a very good picture, and maybe it could be.
You can see the colours in the background on the walls of the ward, yet the shadow itself stays completely black no matter what we do to the picture.
Any of the old asylums are interesting places. And from the way she was talking, she seemed really shocked that they found that. So I'd like to think that it's real.
Before I did the investigation, I was very sceptical as to whether the paranormal and ghosts did exist. But when we went to Newsham and we caught the picture and we also caught the EVPs, the minute I walked out of that place, I was convinced then that something paranormal did exist.
In Nottingham, at the old Picture House, the investigation is continuing. They've already captured some EVP from the hearse, and MJ believes she may have communicated with a negative spirit.
Can't breathe. I was just gonna say, I feel like I can't breathe, like something's around my neck.
In the past, Steve and Marie believe they have seen a shadow person in the attic. So, curious to find out who this might be, MJ decides to investigate.
Okay, so I think if we sit around here, guys.
Yeah.
I would do some EVP up here because I want to try and communicate with the tall, dark shadow that manifested in here. Is there anyone else in this room with us?
That was two.
That was two whistles, like
yeah.
If that was you whistling, could you make that noise again, please? Could you whistle again?
MJ plays back the recording to confirm if they did hear the whistling, but they uncover something else.
Okay. That is terrifying.
That's really interesting that they're playing live EVP back and they've received what appears to be some kind of scream that none of them hear at the time. Wow, yeah, that's really impressive.
As an investigator, you need to step back. You need to say, right, we'll just say it is a noise until we can analyse it properly. I know when you're in the field, you get excited, you know, you want it to be a scream, and you can't help, but I've done it myself.
It sounded to me like a screech.
That seems to be a very clear scream, and whatever's making that noise is certainly not happy.
And just as MJ is about to wrap up the investigation for the night, it seems the spirits have other ideas.
The lights come on in the doll's house. It's up on the thing, but it has to be pressed to come on.
It has to be pressed to come on?
To me, that's more terrifying than a screech, because that's totally unexpected. What the hell caused that to do that?
It's pretty amazing.
I think that's a good note to wrap up on, guys.
Definitely. Great night.
I mean, is every knock, bump and creak in this place paranormal? No. However, you've got some amazing activity in this location. From the EVPs to spirit box responses to seeing shadow figures, all sorts of things. I mean, you've got some of the holy grails of activity in this location. So you can definitely bank on me being back here.
Brilliant.
It's amazing.
I'll blow the candle out.
After you.
But what do our experts think?
There is certainly things that I've seen there to suggest that the location is haunted.
Oh my gosh, I thought that just said MJ.
But we must ask, is it the location that's haunted, or is it the items that have brought something into the location?
We want to believe that things hold meaning. You might believe that there is a spirit attached to an object, but is that more about you wanting that to be true rather than there actually being a spirit attached to an object?
It's not necessarily about ruling out a paranormal explanation, but I think it's important to keep in mind that there are alternative natural explanations. And if you're looking for a paranormal explanation, it's possibly easy to miss the other natural ways that you might explain what's happening.
I really do think that there is definitely something there. The hearse with the handle flying up is enough evidence for me to warrant that place haunted.
I was quite skeptical when I first arrived at this location, and I'm walking away with a completely different perspective. Anyone who is in two minds as to whether or not this place is actually haunted, I challenge you to have a look at it for yourself.
Whether it's ghosts, aliens, or other paranormal phenomena, as encounters happen across the globe, evidence will continue to be captured by witnesses and investigators. But will it be enough to explain the unexplainable?